Immigration New Zealand says you must have an acceptable standard of health. What do they actually mean? And is your visa application at risk of being declined because of this? Let us find out in this video. Hi everyone, kia ora, it's your girl the sassy engineer, your favorite Niger carry down under New Zealand. And in this video, I want to talk about visa health requirements. If you've ever applied for a New Zealand visa, you will see that health requirements is one of the standard eligibility criteria. It says you must be in good health. This visa health requirement is what they call acceptable standard of health criteria, and it helps them decide whether to approve your visa or decline your visa application. So what is it? What does it entail? How do they assess it? What are the things or the conditions that can make them decline the visa application? What do they even consider as good health? Those are all the things that we are going to go through in this video. What is even this acceptable standard of health? That is what they call it. When you're applying for a New Zealand visa, you must show that you have an acceptable standard of health. And that will make them determine if they approve your visa or if they decline your visa. And there are ways to show that you have an acceptable standard of health, which is what we are going to go through later in the video. In order for the visa officers to determine that you meet the acceptable standard of health criteria, they check to see if you are at risk of public health, if you are going to add significant cost burden on the New Zealand health services. So if you are going to be totally dependent or severely dependent on the New Zealand health service. They also check to see if you qualify for ongoing resourcing scheme, ORS funding. Now I'm going to talk about that later. And they will check to see if, because of your condition, you are going to stop working or studying. If your visa was bringing you to work or study, because of your health condition, it will require you to stop doing that. They check all of those things. And they check this through medical assessments, which some visas require you to do as part of your application, while some do not require you to do as part of your application, but you may be asked for this medical assessment during your visa application processing. They assess all of this through some questions they ask when you go for your medical examination. And you can see an example of a typical medical examination through the General Medical Certificate INZ 1007 form. If you go online and check that, you'll see some of the typical questions that they ask. You probably are wondering, why didn't we need you to provide evidence that you're of good health? I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's part of their visa application requirements. And they check to see all those 4 things I mentioned earlier. If you're at risk to public health, if you add significant cost or place demands on the New Zealand health services, if your health may stop you from working or studying, if this is what your visa is for. And if you are a student with a high need for learning support, I will qualify for the ongoing resourcing scheme funding. Now, what is this ongoing resourcing scheme funding? Because I'm sure some of you will be interested in knowing what that means, especially most of you who are studying or have children who will be studying in New Zealand. Let us look at that. So the ongoing resourcing scheme provides specialist support to students with the highest level of ongoing needs. If you want to simplify it, is learning support, ongoing learning support. Yes, some of us need support occasionally here and there. It's not those kind of support that we're talking about. It's people that would need ongoing support to help them school alongside others. So if you're a student who requires ongoing severe needs in learning, hearing, vision, physical, language use or social communication, then you'll be seen as requiring the ORS services. So it could be like specialists, you require therapists or a psychologist. Maybe you need additional time from teacher after school, or you will need an ongoing teacher aid, or there are some consumables that you require in order to help you and support your learning. So those are examples, but you can read more about those online. It's called ongoing resourcing scheme. So there's a lot of things who can make the application and all that to see if that is, if you're going to require it, or if a child of yours who you're going to apply for New Zealand visa for is going to require these things. New Zealand immigration checks that as well. You may ask, what if I'm coming to New Zealand for medical consultation? So they say that if you or someone in your visa application is coming into New Zealand for medical consultation or treatment, then the visa health requirements may not apply. But that is a big name. It's up to them to decide that. Because I think you've already said, hey, I'm coming for this. So they are already aware. And you're probably wondering, how do they assess these health requirements? How do they make this decision? First of all, they make the decision based on your impact on public health care. They don't look at the private health care because you may have their access to private health care. You may have enough money, or someone in your family has the financial capability, or even some organization, they have the ability to sponsor you and pay for your health services, residential care, pharmaceutical care, whatever care you need. They don't look at that. They don't look at the fact that you have any health insurance that cover all those. They made that decision based on your impact on public health. Because as you know, not everyone has that ability to afford those private care. So I guess this is my own opinion. In order for them to be on a level playing ground, they use the public health, because both the people who don't have ability, financial capability, and the people who have financial capability can access public health. So whether you have health insurance, whether you have the, you're capable of accessing private health, which is can be expensive, especially if your needs are very, severe, or your friends or family or any organization has the ability to do that. They don't look at that. They don't consider that for this assessment. They look at the public health care side. Okay. And they make the assessment based on medical examination. So you may require a medical examination as part of your visa application. That medical examination can be X-ray, it can be medical exams, it can be both. And how you determine that will depend on your many conditions, which you are going to look at later. I would like to stop here to tell you that I have checked the backlog and 70% of you are not subscribed. What is happening? Click the subscribe button to join the community. Like this video because you know how it helps the algorithm. Okay, share it to people who need it. And make sure that if you have any questions, pop it in the comment section. But if you want to chat with me one-on-one, send me an email and we can book a time to do that. Okay? Let us continue. I said that in order for them to determine that you're of good health, they may require you to do some medical examinations. So it may be just X-ray only, or it may be medical examination, or it may be both. Based on the results, you get a medical certificate. There are 3 types of medical certificates. You have the general medical certificate, there is a limited medical certificate, and there's a chest X-ray certificate. And what you need, the type you need, depends on the visa that you're applying for, how long you intend to stay in New Zealand, what country you are from, very important, and whether you have provided medical certificate to them before. So usually when you provide a medical certificate, they hold it, well, whatever result is on there is valid for 3 years, so 36 months. After 36 months, if you need to apply for another visa, you will need to update your medical history with them, which basically means you need to go for and get another medical exams. These factors will come in. What type of visa are you applying for? How long do you intend to stay in New Zealand? What country are you from? Okay, so those will apply again, and to determine the type of medical certificates you need to get. So some people will just need to do X-ray only. Some people just need to do medical examination. Some people will have to do both. But if you are under 11 years of age and you are pregnant, you do not need X-ray, except it's a special report that is needed. Because already you know pregnancy risks to the baby, 11 years old under, small children. If you be staying for 6 to 12 months, if you're staying for more than 12 months, if you're applying to stay in New Zealand permanently, if you're applying for a student visa, if you're applying for a recognized seasonal employer limited visa, if you provided X-ray before, if you're applying for parents and grandparents visitor visa. So all of those things come into play. That's why I said, what type of visa are you applying for? How long do you intend to stay in New Zealand for? What country are you from? Those are the 3 key ones. And then the 4th one will now be, have you submitted a medical certificate before? This medical certificate is called e-medical certificate, and it's provided by panel physicians. You can't just walk into any hospital to do it. It has to be panel physician. The steps you need to do to provide this will be, you have to first of all prepare your visa application as much as you can, and check if you need x-ray or medical examination. If you need that as part of your visa application, then you need to get it. If you don't need that as part of your visa application, then you can submit a visa application. Now, if you need that as part of your visa application, you will have to make an appointment with the panel physician for these things. So get all the things that you need for the appointment ready. You will need to go with an acceptable document of identity. So it can be passport, which is the general one, but there are also some other things that you can use: a certificate of identity, refugee travel documents, national identity card. Those are some things, but generally passport is the one everybody goes with. You will need to take that with you. Then you go to your appointment at the time. They may ask you to do many other tests depending on what they are required to do. Then you provide evidence of your x-ray. So sometimes you do your x-ray in that same hospital. Sometimes the panel physician will refer you to a panel radiologist to do the x-ray. After that, you get your results. They will send your results to you, and you are going to be given NZER, e-medical reference number. So NZER. If maybe you submitted your visa application and then they asked you go and do medical exams, then they'll give you what they call NZHR, so INZ Health Case Reference Number. They are going to have these two numbers. When you go to a panel physician, they always generate these two numbers. And these two numbers are what they use to identify the record that is attributed to you. So make sure that you know those numbers. Sometimes you probably were proactive and went and did the test, got the number before Immigration New Zealand reached out to them and be like, go and do the test. Just write to them and tell them you've already done it. This is the number, and then they will check and merge things together. Okay, so that's the procedure of getting your medical test. You prepare your visa application as much as you can, because I think they will need your visa application number. Yeah, and then you will book an appointment with a panel physician. Then you attend your appointment with the necessary IDs and everything, and you do all the tests and then wait for your results. Sometimes after you submitted the test, you may be asked to do further tests. Maybe your results show something that the people will be like, this looks fishy, something looks up. So you may be required to do a second test again in order for them to verify whatever they want to verify. Yeah, just note that. I know that some of you are asking, but what if I don't have a panel physician in my country? Yes, there are some countries that don't have panel physicians. In that case, you have to use a registered doctor. So you can contact the doctor, make the appointment for an x-ray or medical examination or both, and tell them it's for Immigration New Zealand. Tell them the type of medical examination that you need. So remember, there are 3 types. And then ask them about the cost. That one's on you. Immigration New Zealand is not refunding the money. And yeah, you make sure that you have the printed medical form. So this one may be a hard copy, because since they don't have any dealings with Immigration New Zealand, so they do not have access to the e-medical portal. So you can go with the certificate and have your passport size photos and everything to attach. But if you have a panel physician in your country, then you have to go to the panel physician and do all of those things. If you are in New Zealand and you need x-ray only, for instance, you would go to the panel medical clinic and they will refer you to a panel radiology clinic. And how can you find these panel doctors, you're asking? If you go onto Immigration New Zealand website, they have a portal, just like the way you check for your green list roles or check for an accredited employer. They have that. The page is called Doctors Who Can Do X-rays and Medical Examinations. You put your country and you put the keyword search, and it will give you a list. I think you just put the country to just give you a list and check the location closest to you. Then you go there and attend. And you're thinking, all this one just to assess public health. What if I'm not even qualified to assess public health? So let us look at who can assess public health, because that's the real question here. You may be doing all of this one just to find out that you're not eligible to access public health. Well, they won't even put you through that stress, to be honest. But they will still do the test regardless. So who can access public health?
Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.